From John Mellencamp, and of course, a famous utterance from the late, great Yankee legend Yogi Berra. And it could also be used to describe the latest details surrounding the latest investigation into former President Trump. Now, you might remember the wife of disgraced former FBI agent Andy McCabe was a Democrat for candidate for office and a beneficiary of big dollars from friends of the Clintons. Well, it turns out that the wife of recently appointed special counsel Jack Smith has similar issues. Reports suggest that she was not only a donor to Joe Biden, but also one of the producers of a Michelle Obama documentary. Joining me now is Molly Hemingway, editor-in-chief at The Federalist and Fox News contributor, and Stephen Miller, former senior advisor to President Trump and America First legal founder. Molly, the left's rules are no recusal ever for any bias or appearance of a conflict.
Right. The left says that if they have a spouse that is compromised in some ways, no recusal at all. But if anyone who's conservative, who's a justice or involved in law enforcement has a spouse that is politically active, well, that, of course, means that you have to recuse. And here we have a situation where the spouse of this person, is a donor, is an activist. But even more than that, we know that this person himself was involved in the IRS scandal. He was involved in prosecuting the former governor of Virginia, who was widely considered to be a presidential contender, prosecuting him. That conviction was overturned by the Supreme Court 9-0. I mean, this is someone who, if you were trying to make it seem like this was above board, you really could not have done a worse job in picking someone.
And Stephen, speaking of Smith, I'm getting some early days of Mueller vibes here. Check this out.
Say that he's independent. He's a registered political independent, we are told, and will work this case without fear or favor.
He's not someone who's going to waste any time hand-wringing over these sideshows.
Given his skill and tenacity, and he's known for being really fast and cutting to the chase.
Okay, the turtleneck doesn't help with the credibility there. Stephen, wasn't this really predictable?
Oh, he's so skilled, Laura, so tenacious. And did I hear mention that he's registered as an independent? Unbelievable. I mean, look, Laura, the bottom line is the top levels of the Department of Justice are Democrats. We have seen this over and over again. DOJ at the career level is run by Democrats. They protect each other. They watch out for each other. They take care of each other. That's why all the leaks only do one thing, hurt Republicans. That's why all the spin only helps one group, Democrats. That's why all the political prosecutions are targeted in one direction, at Trump and Republicans. That's why pro-lifers go to jail, and that's why pro-abortion terrorists don't go to jail. We are witnessing the demise of the rule of law in this country.
Molly, I think it's so bad on so many levels, and it's a huge mistake for the Biden administration at a time where they say we want to return to normal order, uphold institutions, Republicans and conservatives and wacky MAGA people were trying to disrupt the process on January 6th. But they're the great disruptors because nobody believes that this guy is going to be without fear or favor. I'm so tired of that phrase, too.
Right. It would be a mistake if they were held accountable by members of corporate press. But again, if we take it back a few years, we're talking about a former president who was persecuted by the Department of Justice. You had FBI agents falsifying evidence to secure a wiretap to spy on the campaign. You had years of these politicized leaks. You have had, just really remarkably horrible behavior. All of the decisions made by Merrick Garland and by his Department of Justice throughout this Biden administration have been really not appropriate given that past that's there. There is no reason why anybody should have any modicum of trust in what they're doing, and they don't seem to care. They're just flaunting it at this point.
Now, I need to get both of your thoughts on this. An Ohio man who stole bourbon and a coat rack during the Capitol riot just got 3 years in prison. That's twice as long as that lefty lawyer who firebombed a NYPD patrol car with that Molotov cocktail during the George Floyd riot. Stephen, 3 years.
I mean, there's no question that the Department of Justice is being used to send a message at only one group of Americans, and that is conservatives. We've seen this throughout the January 6 cases, but in particular, when you compare it to what is happening with street criminals in this country, with BLM rioters in this country, with Antifa terrorists in this country, with people who try to murder police officers in this country, with the revolving door of justice where you can attack and assault and maim and you can even murder, and you will be set free in this country. There is not and has not been for a long time a single uniform standard of justice, which is what we desperately need.
Now, Molly, what's been done to some of these January 6 defendants? Pretrial detention for 20 months? I know, I'm not saying what they did was great, but 20 months of pretrial detention?
It's just unbelievable.
It's no Republicans are speaking about this. Like Lauren Boebert, I think, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. But very few are even talking about these poor people.
And again, this was after 2020, which saw riots in cities throughout the country, attacks on the White House, federal courthouses, statues and monuments. The Department of Justice was largely uninterested in prosecuting any of that. They've spent more money and been more tenacious in going after these people, some of whom, like, all political violence is bad. Some of these people were let into the Capitol, and Republicans are scared to talk about it. That is a very bad sign, because it's really important to be honest about what's going on here, about the rule of law and how much we have two standards of justice. So it's a very big problem.